Just like giving a foot rub, all good things must come to an end. On Monday, March 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific, the 3DS eShop will go offline forever. Before that happens, I wanted to take one last look at the place that was home to such great digital 3DS exclusives like, well, I was going to say Pocket Card Jockey, but they literally brought that to iPhone a couple of months after I bought it. And I was also going to say great Virtual Console Game Boy games, but some of them are already on Switch or are coming to Switch. At least it's the only place where you can buy older mainline Pokemon games, some for almost $15 Canadian. That is absurd. Do you know how many pedicures I could get for that? Even as I'm recording this, I have no idea how I'll handle the audio here. I personally find the 3DS eShop music to be super annoying, but if I play any videos or something, it'd be pretty lackluster to have them be silent. So like when you go to a girl's house for the first time and check her sock drawer, you're in for a surprise. To kick things off, we have Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn on the homepage. For years it seems, this has been the image I saw whenever I logged into the eShop. I think Nintendo filled the top row with recent major releases, and the fact that Kirby came out in 2019 makes me sad. The top row also includes the Bowser's Inside Story port and the 3DS version of the original Luigi's Mansion. I always found it odd that Nintendo ported a DS game to 3DS. Yeah, Bowser's Inside Story is great and all, but you could already play it on the 3DS, so why? And then there's Detective Pikachu. Apparently the sequel or port or semi-sequel or whatever it is still in development for Switch. And with the news that the movie is getting a sequel, Nintendo may be holding it back to cash in on the hype. Personally, I never understood why this is the direction they decided to take with live-action Pokemon. I mean, I get having a Pikachu, but where's Ash? Anyways, remember Nintendo Selects? If you've only ever owned a Switch, probably not. See, back in the day, Nintendo used to discount games to $30 after a certain amount of time. But with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still selling millions of copies every year, Nintendo can do whatever they want. Still, these games all apparently sold millions of copies. I find it hard to believe Ultimate NES Remix sold that well, and I refuse to Google it and be potentially wrong. I can believe the sales for 3D Land though, as it has over 30,000 reviews, as well as Ocarina of Time 3D, which is over 23,000 reviews. Did you know you can see what everyone rated a game by scrolling to the bottom of the page? What's insane to me is that 266 people gave Ocarina of Time a 1 out of 10, and 219 gave it a 2. Thankfully, over 20,000 people gave it a 5 out of 5. But if you're one of those heathens who gave it a 1, please let me know in the comments who hurt you. Scrolling past WarioWare Gold and Captain Toad, there's Yokai Watch 3. If you want to own a legitimate copy of this game, you probably want to get it digitally. Physical copies are going for like $200 or $300 and will only increase once the eShop closes. That's the case for several other games on the eShop, including Radiant Historia and Rhythm Thief. Thankfully, I got them on sale for like 80% off several months ago, and will probably never play them. Now we come to the point where we test Nintendo's algorithm. If they have access to my Google history, I'll probably be recommended Toe Jam and Earl in the Games You'll Love section. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not personalized. It's just Nintendo chucking some of their best physical games at me and hoping I buy them. What a disappointment, is what my dad said to me after I failed to beat Super Mario 64 in under an hour after weeks of practice. I guess now we get into franchise sections of the eShop. Since I could only get my capture card on an original 3DS, I had no hope of playing the new 3DS exclusive Virtual Console games like Super Mario Kart and Super Mario World, which are over $11 each. That's also absurd. Same with charging $50 for Paper Jam. I also had no idea there was a new Dr. Mario for 3DS. And wait, what? Play one of the greatest Super Mario games of all time. I didn't know Nintendo ever did advertisements like that in the eShop. I know for A Link Between Worlds they say it's GameSpot's Game of the Year in 2013, beating out The Last of Us, but this seems a little biased to me. And I never played Yoshi's New Island because apparently it sucks, but does it deserve to be in the Mario section? Same with Wario Land. That very clearly says it's a Wario game. I call shenanigans, Nintendo. Alright, let's see what we got here. In the Pokemon section, we have Pokemon Crystal. In the video where I spent money on 3DS Virtual Console games, I said if it received enough likes, I'd buy Crystal. You can always trust your pilot, so this is me spending money on a game I'll never play, all because of a video that made me $4 in revenue. I am a brilliant investor. Along with the virtual console Pokemon games, we're also losing Picross, Rumble World, Shuffle, Battle Trozei, Pokédex 3D Pro, and Dream Radar. Well, Shuffle is on mobile, so we're not losing that. And we're keeping Pokemon Banked, which will even go free, but if you want Poke Transporter, you have to buy the paid pass and get it within Banked. If you don't, you'll probably never be able to get it again. I also wanted to talk about Super Mystery Dungeon for a second. I included it in the thumbnail for my Pokemon games disappearing video. People were very confused, which confused me. Like, Nintendo's not going to come to your house, tickle your feet, and take your copy. It's just the digital version going away from the eShop. Anyways, next up is Zelda. I haven't been sorting by popularity, so let's do that. Wait, the Triforce Heroes demo is the most popular Zelda game on 3DS eShop? I guess it makes sense. Triforce Heroes wasn't exactly well loved. And you know, a free demo is free. I think the whole demo idea backfired because Triforce Heroes itself is the least popular Zelda game on 3DS eShop. Now, I'm not sure if these rankings are super accurate or how exactly they're calculated, but it's a little weird seeing Oracle of Ages beaten out by A Link Between Worlds. And under normal circumstances, A Link to the Past losing to the N64 remakes would be nuts, but it's new 3DS only, so I guess it makes sense. Next on the list is, wait, they have a Yoshi section? So why was Yoshi in the Mario section? I refuse to look at the Yoshi section in protest, so let's check out Kirby. I don't think you all understand how many Kirby games exist in the world. But on 3DS eShop, free beats paid, with Team Kirby Clash at number 1 and the Battle Royale demo at number 2. Team Kirby was fun until it became clear I had to pay money to progress. And I think Battle Royale got a sequel or something on Switch, or was that Kirby Fighters? Whatever, did you know there's a DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe game on the eShop? Based on the 83 ratings, probably not. And poor Kirby's Dream Course. For that much money, and the fact that it's a new 3DS exclusive, I'm honestly surprised at least 10 people bought it. Skipping past the dumb green dinosaur is something someone in the 90s would never believe. The Cubs and Red Sox both winning the World Series. Also, Nintendo promoting Sonic. There's a full section for Sonic, which, funnily enough, is a more successful live-action movie franchise than Mario and Pokemon combined. Think about that for a second. The most popular Sonic games are the 3D remakes of the first two titles. Sega did a lot of that remaking on the 3DS, and the reviews were almost always overly positive. But for some reason, the Game Gear's Triple Trouble has more ratings than the other two. As for Sonic Labyrinth, yeah, we won't talk about that one. The rest of the top row on 3DS eShop is just advertisements for other games you'd rather buy physically, finishing up with the games for kids section. I'm not really sure what the criteria here is because there's some not so great games like Yoshi's Crap Island and Paper Jam. I guess it's just games with an E10 plus rating or lower. Seems like it was a little lazy on Nintendo's part if I'm being honest. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. No, it's not a foot reveal, it's catching up on all the hot 3DS news. Well, there isn't any. So let's check out the new arrivals, beginning with new software. I was going to talk about how I live in Canada and there's a bunch of missing games, but some were just added. I know Fragrant Story came out in the US last year, and I guess Nintendo just pushed it live in Canada because the release date here is listed as March 7th. Yet they didn't even bother with a thumbnail. I have no idea what Odo-san is. Based on the description though, it's a lie because there's no way to make my dad proud. And the most recentest game is Silver Falls Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers. Get it? The title has 3 Ds in it. 3 Ds, 3DS, whatever. It's like Kingdom Hearts. And if you think that's bad, the Silver Falls developer also released some Wii U games, and one of the names there is equally punny. It looks like this is the last 3DS game ever made, and it costs $23. If you want me to buy it and make a video, let me know in the comments before the eShop shuts down. Or, if this video gets 1,000 likes in 24 hours, I'll buy it. My balls are in your court. As for the latest videos, the most recent is apparently Without Escape. It's a new 3DS game only, and it released in 2019, so I don't think we can technically call it new, just new in the sense that it's the most recent. But old in the sense that it's old. It's kind of like how New Super Mario Bros. U is actually the old New Super Mario Bros. U, while New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is the new Super Mario Bros. U. My brain hurts. Now let's check out the charts. The last, most recently popular video is the trailer for Pokemon Banked, which makes sense as it's going free on the 28th and you need to pay for it before the 27th to get Poke Transporter. And this is nice, Gurumin is in second. It's massively discounted right now and definitely worth the $2 they want for it. You can check out my review in the video I'll probably forget to put on screen right now. The rest of the top 20 is a mix of games on sale and games people might want before the eShop closes, and also for some reason the September 2018 Nintendo Direct. Was it really good or something that I should watch it 4.5 years later? For the software charts, let's see what the most popular games of all time are. Coming in at number 1 is Mario Kart 7. That shouldn't be too surprising. It was given away as a free download with systems back in the day, so that really boosted the numbers. I think Pokemon Yellow was also free at some point with the system, but regardless, it's the best-selling digital-only 3DS game ever, assuming these charts are accurate. I do feel bad for everybody who let Dream Raider get to 8th, but since I own it, I think it was probably free at some point too. The top 20 is really just a mix of Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon, and then we randomly have Shovel Knight Treasure Trove in 20th. Oh, this is cool, I can also filter by category. The 3DS only section doesn't have too many surprises. I guess Gunman Clive in 17th is interesting. I own it on Switch, so I'll get to it one day. But let's go to DSiWare. Leave your guesses in the comments below what you think the number... oh, I already spoiled it. The most popular DSiWare game of all time is Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis March Again. If you watch my $8 DSiWare video, you know it's deserved. Then we have the $2 Photo Dojo in second. Don't ask me why I put Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in the Photo Dojo video. Maybe I'm prophetic and I knew they'd be starring in Deadpool 3 together. You can't prove I'm not. The rest of the top 20 makes me sad. There's no Akapa's Trail, easily my favorite game on the platform, while things like Xenonia and Crystal Monsters are on there. I made a video solely focused on Crystal Monsters, and let me say, the game sucks. Then we just have some clocks, which turn your 3DS into a clock, I'm assuming. And apparently Mario's Seaman Factory is coming in last. Maybe the Virtual Console games will restore my faith in humanity. Well, it did because it's pretty much just Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon. Imagine telling somebody in the late 90s that you can own all of the best games from those franchises for less than $150 and there's no need for cartridges. Their mind would be blown more than a Blacephalon. And if you don't know what a Blacephalon is, don't look it up. If you aren't afraid of clowns now, you will be. Now let's shift things to the bottom row. I'm going to take a wild guess and say bestsellers is based on recent sales, not overall. And just like when I guessed the weight of my ex-wife at the carnival, I'm right. The recent bestsellers aren't surprising, it's a lot of free stuff. Pokemon Bank is number 1, and near the top we also have the demos for Sun and Moon, and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. One of them is the only way to get Astra Ninja, and the other gives you a Mega Glalie, so they're great. And Crystal is the second worst selling mainline Pokemon game of all time behind Emerald, I think, meaning a lot of people are partaking in it probably for the first time ever. Then we have the Ace Attorney trilogy at 90% off. After playing Dual Destinies, I can firmly say I'm not a fan of the franchise. Way too much reading. And as we all know, reading is for nerds. I have no idea what the save data transfer tool is. Okay, that's interesting. If you play a physical copy of a game, then download the digital version, you can share the same save file. It's free, so you may as well get it. Then it's just a bunch more Phoenix Wright and Pokemon games. It's funny seeing Pokemon Red so far ahead of Pokemon Blue. We all know Pokemon Green would be in first if it existed here. Venusaur is obviously the best starter. I'll save my rant on the lack of game sales for the next section, but it's crazy that Capcom's the only major publisher who decided to reap the benefits. At least the Shovel Knight developers also got to make some money, because that's the only reason we're here, to make money and touch feet. And I'm all out of feet. Finally, games on sale. I know you weren't listening earlier, so I'll repeat myself. I live in Canada, and everything is listed in made-up Canadian dollars, so the prices on some games are much higher because Nintendo hates Canadians. But look at the entire first page here. It is absolutely dominated by Capcom titles. Turns out, if you sell good games at 90% off, people tend to buy them. Who knew? I do think it's funny that the Guruman review in the header calls it one of the best 3D action platformers on 3DS, then only gives it a 4 out of 5. Pop quiz. Other than Super Mario 3D Land, name another good 3D action platformer on 3DS and leave it in the comments. Seriously, the entire first page is littered with great games at great prices, and we have a hidden gem like Caldcept Revolt on the second page with SteamWorld Heist right behind it. Several of these games are available on Switch though, so I don't own many of them on 3DS. Overall, it's impossible to not be disappointed. Nintendo knew the eShop was closing and yet didn't bother doing any sort of celebration sale. I think Atlas was supposed to do a sale, but there was some controversy where they announced a sale last year as their final sale ever, And when they tried to do another final sale now, Japanese law or something prevented them from doing it. Definitely a bummer either way. So I hate to break the immersion, but I researched for this video before recording it, which means I know that my original assumption of the games at a good price just being an extension of Nintendo Selects is wronger than putting your feet in a bowl full of honey. But if it's so wrong, why does it feel so good? Games at a good price is just an extension of new releases, except they're all under $10. And notice how it's games at a good price and not good games at a great price. I played most of these turds and they truly suck. Like, Soccer Shootout is 10 cents and that's overpriced. You should get paid for playing Soccer Shootout. And something like Escape from Forest should never get any promotion by Nintendo. Avoid this section at all costs, it'll only bring you misery. Seems kind of redundant to have two new releases sections, doesn't it? There's nothing interesting here except for the Mario Kart 7 update in December. I think it was mostly just to fix some exploits, which is somehow more boring than the Switch stability intensifying every month. Now we have games with DLC. If you watch the completionist video where he spent 13 grand on everything in the eShop, you'll know how dumb DLC is handled on 3DS. I'll select the first option, Etrian Odyssey V. Can you see what's missing here? Exactly, there's no section to actually buy the DLC. And clicking the DLC keyword inexplicably brings you to trailers for well-known 3DS games Pokken Tournament and Breath of the Wild. No, instead, you have to buy the DLC in the games themselves. And it might take you several hours in a game like Fire Emblem to progress far enough to get the privilege to buy the DLC. Yeah, it's kind of a messed up system. Games with demos is far more gooder. You just click on the game listing, then click on demo. That's it. I made a video recommending the best demos like WarioWare Gold and Harmonite. Seriously, the demo for Harmonite is so good. It's a shame the full game costs over $20 in Canada, otherwise I would have happily given Game Freak my money. And if you were hoping to get one last game of Metroid Prime Federation Force Blast Ball in this year, I'm sorry the online's been discontinued. But you can still play locally against the friends you wish you had, so that's a plus. I also think it's funny that the demo for Hey Pikmin is free, and I still have zero interest in playing it. But if you didn't know there was a 3DS game called Hey Pikmin, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. I also made a video detailing every free-to-start game on 3DS, so you can trust my opinions on all of these. For games like Team Kirby Clash, Pokemon Picross, Pokemon Shuffle, Pokemon Rumble World, and I think even Nintendo Badge Arcade, you can claim them now and play later. Actually, I'm not sure about Badge Arcade. Anyways, the main problem is when the eShop closes, you won't be able to access any of the microtransactions. So you're firmly stuck on the free-to-play path, which is a slog for some of them. As long as Nintendo Badge Arcade servers stay online though, you should be able to keep claiming items every day to customize your home screen. Since Stretchmo is a demo, the actual game will be unplayable. Steel Diver Subwars has a bit of a demo, but the multiplayer will be playable. You just won't be able to buy any additional subs. It's the same deal with Ironfall Invasion. The single player is a demo, but the multiplayer is free to play. When I was looking up Ironfall a few weeks ago, I think I saw that they're making a Switch version. That seems wasteful to me. The only selling point is that it was Gears of War on 3DS. Gears of War on Switch doesn't sound nearly as exciting. And Rusty's going to be super sad when he realizes he can't sell you any games anymore. My memory's as bad as Rusty's when it comes to his children's names, but I think you only get one starter game free, then you have to pay for DLC. So it's really going to be a mixed bag when it comes to whether these free-to-start games are worth playing after the 27th. It's definitely nice seeing Nintendo give a spotlight to indie games, and with the way their algorithm works, Shovel Knight is deservedly in the forced in. It's 100% worth buying if your only system is a 3DS, and even if you own a Switch, this version is probably cheaper. Attack of the Friday Monsters is good, just don't go expecting a masterclass of gameplay. It's a coming-of-age story with very little to do besides walking around and talking to people. Even the built-in card game is more of an afterthought than a main mechanic. And here's where we come to my shame. No, not that locked drawer in my desk. Because my 3DS eShop videos never really did all that well views-wise, I stopped buying games. So Liberation Maiden is something I passed on, even though it's supposed to be good. Same with Weapon Shop to Omas and the Denpa Men. Games that were on my radar are just going to fade away, never letting me finger them. Wait a minute. Isn't the Denpa Men from Nintendo? Why is it in the indie section? Oh, okay. The publisher is Genius Sonority, who's made a lot of Pokemon games over the years, including Shuffle and Cafe Remix. I guess they are technically an indie developer, but they're definitely towing the line, having worked with Nintendo so much in the past. I mean, that's like calling Game Freak an indie developer on every game they make not named Pokemon. Sure, it's true, but it feels weird. So, they have a section for 3D games. I find it ironic given that Nintendo effectively abandoned the whole 3D gimmick of the 3DS by introducing the 2DS and new 2DS XL Hyper Turbo Edition. You know, I'm not really sure what the hell this section actually is. Is it 3D as in they use the 3DS's 3D functionality, or is it 3D as in you can move your character around in 3 dimensions? Because I don't think Rusty's Real Deal Baseball fits that criteria. Okay, Nintendo, we need to have a little chat. Why is Phoenix Wright the mascot for the RPG section? And once you skip past all the Pokemon and Phoenix Wright games, in what universe are Gurumin and Pokemon Trading Card Game RPGs? Gurumin is a 3D action-adventure game, and Pokemon Trading Card Game is a trading card game. I know I'm getting irrationally upset about this, but I mean, Zelda's here too, what the crap? And I guess I should say I passed on Crimson Shroud as well. Again, I blame everyone who didn't watch my other eShop videos for missing out on some great titles. I don't blame you though. I know you watch all of my videos multiple times so I get as much ad revenue as possible. You're the real MVP. Alright Nintendo, here's where you can redeem yourself. And thankfully you have. The platformer section is filled with actual platformers. I don't know why Gurumin is in both categories, but ignoring that, these are all solid choices. I will mention that I bought all of the Wario Land games 2 weeks or so before the Switch Online announcement, which is the perfect segue to looking at the Virtual Console section, except local play is actually next. I know the default ordering is by popularity, but it's still funny seeing Pokemon Red at the top. Back in my day, you had to buy a link cable to trade and battle with other people, and it wasn't as simple as ordering it off Amazon and getting it the next day. You had to hope the game store in the mall had it in stock. If they didn't, you were just kinda screwed. You kids don't know how easy you have it these days. Like, imagine going to the bathroom without your phone. That was a daily occurrence for us. If you went to someone else's house, there was a decent chance they had a rack on the toilet filled with magazines. It was disgusting, yet we all accepted it because the alternative was far worse. Now we get to Virtual Console. All the usual suspects are at the top. I do feel kinda bad for the people who bought Oracle of Ages and Seasons and Pokemon Trading Card Games since those are coming to Switch. But I guess not everyone has a Switch, even though there's like 120 million of them out there. It's still pretty crazy that Nintendo charges upwards of $14 for some of these old games. I know I complained a lot about wasting money on Virtual Console games, but I did contact Nintendo the day after that Direct, and they issued a refund for a few of them. I only got about $15 back, but it was better than nothing. And did you know that there was a series of Donkey Kong Land games on the eShop? I sure didn't. Personally, I never really got into the Donkey Kong franchise. Diddy Kong Racing, yes. Donkey Kong 64, yes. The 2D Donkey Kong games, not so much. So if you have any fond 2D Donkey Kong memories, type them out in the comments with your feet. We're getting down towards the end here. The only on new Nintendo 3DS section should be front-loaded with Super Nintendo games, but instead we have this. There's a bunch of Silver Falls games on 3DS, and some of them only work on the new models. Soccer Shootout is clearly a graphical powerhouse, so that had to be exclusive to the new models. In all seriousness, I think it has to do with the development tools. A lot of newer games were only compatible with the newer models. Or I just made that up, who knows? Zara the Fastest Fairy. If you haven't watched my video on it, the theme song is horrifically catchy. And don't worry, you can zoom in on Zara in-game to see the hyper-realistic detail the devs put into her. And there's Phasmophobia. I was going to make a video on it and act like Phasmophobia is on 3DS with a super baity thumbnail, but using my phone to record gameplay on my new 3DS isn't fun, and the game also looked terrible. And what the hell are these? A $20 Storm Chaser game? No, just no. This is a trend I noticed a lot spending hours on the eShop. Publishers just not including trailers. If you're charging $20 for a game, you better include some footage. Like, who in their right mind is going to spend $20 on something called Games for Toddlers 2 when the thumbnail is that bad? And this is coming from someone who sucks at making thumbnails. Wait, there's only 4 games in Games for Toddlers? They're charging $5 per minigame? And what even is this thing? It's like a Seismitoad after it lost a ton of weight. Just get me out of here, I can't handle all of this. Like Operation Cobra for $4? Keep in mind that Nintendo has to approve every game that shows up on the eShop. And every publisher has to get their game rated by the ESRB, which costs money. I can't anymore. This is the first time I've thought it's a good thing the 3DS eShop is closing. Alright, deep breath in, deep breath out, everything's okay. Think about a meadow of feet blowing in the wind. Alright, I'm calm now. Did you know there's a Nintendo Switch section on 3DS? It stopped getting updates over 5 years ago, so I think Nintendo also forgot there was one. I am curious to see what the quality of the January 11th, 2018 mini direct is. You know what? It's not bad. And I don't know if it actually does anything, but I can turn on the 3D slider. I've never been one for the 3D effect, so I'm definitely not the person to ask. Though the screen does get that 3D fuzz when I move the slider, so I guess so? Did all videos on 3DS have this? Anyways, newest videos is just the stuff we've already seen. The new videos every week thing on the top screen definitely didn't age well though. And the most played videos are just Pokemon Bank and Gurumin, nothing too exciting. I do want to stop and mention Demon King Box. Have any of you heard of the sites listed on the top screen there? Because when I did my research for the Hidden Gems video last year, I don't think any of them popped up. For a quick review of Demon King Box, it's fine. Hilarious translation errors help, but the gameplay is just unbalanced Plants vs. Zombies. Giving it a 9 seems a tad sus, as the kids would say. Ah, the future releases section. Why is Mario Maker the mascot? Who knows? But it definitely makes more sense than the September 2018 Direct being the only future release. It's time for me to admit a deep dark secret. I thought Detective Pikachu was a terrible movie. Also, I've never owned an Amiibo. I've just never really been into collectibles, unless they're feet molds of women on the internet. It's kinda crazy that the second listing in the Amiibo section on 3DS is for Dark Souls on Switch. But yeah, me no Amiibo. Hey, remember Monster Hunter Stories? I tried to get into it, but then they announced the sequel, so I stopped. And when I ended up playing the sequel, I was disappointed. Maybe I'll go back to it one day, I just didn't enjoy the go out and complete a quest, then come back here to hear us ramble about nothing, then go back out and complete another quest and repeat that for several hours. There's also this old Amiibo trailer. Well, I guess every video here is technically old. It's super cringe. The kid casually tries to mention that the 2DS requires another accessory to use an Amiibo, but there's no way to organically bring that up in a conversation. It's like the link cable all over again. Imagine being a kid with the 2DS, your parents buy you an Amiibo, and when you try to tap the screen with it, nothing happens. Then you learn you have to buy another accessory, except when you go to talk to your parents, they've already left, and now you're all alone at the Grand Canyon, waiting out the night hoping they remember you exist and come back. And for the last section, it's applications. Obviously all the free ones are worth getting because they're free, but did you know you can turn your 3DS into a controller in Smash Bros. For Wii U for $1? If you've ever tried it, how was it? I imagine it definitely hasn't helped the longevity of people's systems. Nintendo also included some DSiWare titles in this section. There's no area on the front page solely dedicated to DSiWare, which sucks, because something like a Kappa's Trail is truly amazing. Speaking of which, let's go find those DSiWare games. All you have to do to find them is go to search on the front page, then select DSiWare in the options. The first game shown is Crazy Train. If you watch my last game ever made for DS, you'll know it's the last game ever made for DS. I'm very original when it comes to my titles. Sorting by popularity, we get past Mario vs. Donkey Kong and Photo Dojo, and the garbage that is Xenonia and Crystal Monsters, to find Starship Defense, a great tower defense game. It's not the most innovative game in the genre, it just does everything right. And here's Soul of Darkness. I can understand why people might not enjoy it as much as I did, but as a huge Castlevania fan, it was exactly what I wanted. Aura Climber is another DSiWare gem. WarioWare Snapped isn't. According to this, there's nearly 400 DSiWare games in Canada. Because of delisting and all that, I'm sure there's a lot more that were actually made, but this is all that's left. And it truly pains me that a Kappa's Trail doesn't show up until the 4th page. Do you know how much crap is ahead of it? Far too much. Now, is there anything else worth checking out here? I mean, I could spend another hour scrolling through every game in the eShop, rambling on about feet and balls, but I think I should start to wind down this video and head over to the theme shop. You get here by going to the home screen on your 3DS, clicking on Settings, then Change Theme, then Theme Shop. I already made a video about the theme shop, but the music here truly is much better than the eShops. And apparently the best-selling theme, possibly of all time, is this one from A Link Between Worlds. Then it's the Primal Groudon Primal Kyogre one, followed by 2 more Zelda themes. None of the listings have previews for the themes, so you'll have to watch videos on YouTube to decide if they're for you. That's what I had to do, for hours. It may seem like I only spent like 10 minutes on that video, but I literally watched hundreds of videos trying to narrow it down to the 3 I ended up buying. While the theme shop is also closing, Nintendo did say that some free themes would remain. Since we have no idea what they'll be, grab the current free ones while you still can. Not every free theme is listed in the free themes section, and there's no search function for themes as far as I know. So you have to go to all themes and scroll through every theme until you come across the free ones. Or just save yourself the headache and go without a theme. That's what millions of Switch owners have done for years, and we're all well-adjusted, normal people who definitely don't contemplate chucking our Joy-Cons against the wall when they fail to connect with the system on the first damn try. I think a good place to end this video is by going back to the eShop and looking at the download list. Even after the eShop closes, you'll still be able to download content you already own. So as long as you have ownership of something before the 27th at 5 PM Pacific time, you can download it for the foreseeable future. I don't quite know what the eShop will look like after the 27th, but right now you have to go into settings, then scroll down until you get to read downloadable software. My list is filled with DSiWare titles because you can't just download them all willy-nilly. There's only space for like 10 games in the system memory, so you have to transfer the rest to your SD card, but you can't play them from your SD card, so you have to transfer them back if you want to play them again. It's a super intuitive way of doing things. And don't forget that the servers will remain online for multiplayer games. If you missed my video earlier this year, yes, a lot of people are still playing Pokemon and Mario Kart in 2023. But that'll do it here. If you have any memories or funny stories or favorite games from the 3DS eShop, let your voice be heard in the comments.